Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my review of the Hoka Ora Recovery Slide 3. So a lot of people were actually saying this slide was very comfortable, and this is also a recovery slide. So if after you play a game, or you've been running or performing or whatever, you're doing athletic things and you want to feel something very comfortable underneath your foot, hence recovery, this is kind of like what it's marketed for, right? So as far as the retail price goes, it's $60, which is freaking expensive. You know what I mean? Or I guess that's like average price. Crocs are like 50-60 bucks. Yeah, just for like a piece of plastic, and that seems kind of expensive. But I guess the React X Rejuvenate as well as like 70 bucks, which is also extremely expensive. I guess I'm more used to like the Rigor slides, which is the Shark Slide 3 is like 35 bucks, and then the like Shark Slide Mini is like 20 bucks, which is extremely also very comfortable, but that's a really cheap price, you know what I mean? But anyways, if you guys do want to call up, try to leave in the free link in the description box if you do choose to get this slide. It does help me out if you buy through the free link in the description box, and as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. But let's get it started right off with the bottom of the slide. Of course, it says Hoka in the middle of the, I guess, the outsole, or the bottom of the slide. We have this kind of like very interesting tread. It's actually quite thick. You guys can see it's pretty thick as far as the tread goes. So I guess that'll be pretty good for durability, but it is overall foam, and it is dual density, however, right? This entire slide is dual density. So if you look at the actual line, this top part is a really soft foam, right? Especially with the footbed, and then the bottom part is actually a little bit stiffer. So that stiffer foam is also the outsole of the slide, and obviously because it is stiffer, it'll be a little bit more durable than the softer foam, but still not as durable as like a rubber outsole, you know what I mean? So for example, like the Wow slide has a rubber outsole, and the React X Rejuvenate has a rubber outsole as well, which will be a little bit more durable. So that kind of sucks that they didn't add a rubber outsole, or at least some rubber pods or something like that. Sometimes companies, they add like rubber pods in the highway areas, like in the forefoot and the heel, but they didn't here. So it won't be as durable as like those other slides with the rubber outsoles, but it's just an outsole, you know what I mean? I wasn't really sliding around all over the place. It had pretty good grip and all that. So yeah, there is the outsole there. Of course, let's move on to the cushioning setup, which is the most important part about this slide. I'm guessing a lot of you guys are looking into this slide because you want something extremely comfortable, especially after working out or playing a game or whatever, right? So yeah, like I said, this is a dual density foam. And as far as the actual footbed goes, it says it's an injection molded sugarcane EVA midsole. So I'm not really super familiar with Hoka, but yeah, let me just tell you guys how it feels, right? So first of all, the heel is very thick. Look at this. You know what I mean? I guess the sides, like there is a raised sidewall, so it's not like you're on top of all of this. It's actually like around right over here, but it's still really thick here in the heel, right? And for the underfoot cushion, just walking around, this feels extremely nice here in the heel. Mainly because obviously, first of all, it's thick here in the heel. So I can feel my heel digging into that foam, digging into that cushion, and the heel cushion is extremely nice. It has a lot of compression, but also it's like kind of rebound. It has a nice kind of like rebound back, you know what I mean? It's soft, it's comfortable. So yeah, it basically feels like you're walking on a marshmallow here in the heel. However, in the forefoot, you guys can see how much thinner it gets here. You know what I mean? So, and also it has a really crazy curved shape, right? I actually really like this because just walking around, like just putting a little bit of weight here into the tip of the toe, it just kind of like rocks you forward. It just feels really smooth when I'm just walking around, you know what I mean? It just feels really nice. So I really like that. But obviously, like here in the forefoot, it's really thin, so it's definitely it's a little bit stiffer, and you don't feel as much of that compression. It's actually I don't really feel that much compression here in the forefoot, so that kind of sucks, you know what I mean? Because first of all, comparing it to a lot of slides that I like to wear, like I named this 361 AG Whale 2, and it has this is a drop-in midsole, right? So it has a drop-in midsole. I believe this is called the NRG like 40 or something like the N40 midsole, but it's so freaking soft, and not only in the heel but also in the forefoot, you know what I mean? So I'm used to that type of feel. Also, same thing with the Shark Slide 3, you know what I mean? It also is a drop-in midsole, right? And it's so freaking soft, not only here in the heel but also in the forefoot. So yeah, it kind of sucks because if I'm walking around, I want the entire footbed to be really soft and comfortable and just like kind of like mushy even, you know what I mean? Because if it's a recovery slide, I kind of want something really soft, just in my personal opinion, of course. But yeah, like I said, here for the Hoka slide, the Ora, it's not as soft here in the forefoot, but the heel is really nice, right? There also is kind of like this embossed shape. You know what I mean? So it kind of like, if you're wearing it barefoot, you can feel this a little bit and kind of puts your foot in place, which feels kind of nice, you know? So yeah, the overall cushion is very nice. Also, another slide to compare to is the Infinity Mules. So as far as the overall compression goes in the heel, I would say the Hokas are a little bit softer. It's actually a little bit thicker, it feels like. This is a little bit lower to the ground. The foam is thinner. So here in the heel, it actually has a little bit more compression. It's a little bit softer. However, the Infinity Mule, I can also feel the forefoot, you know what I mean? The step and comfort, which feels still soft, but like I said, the Hokas are just a little bit stiffer. And same thing with the React X Rejuvenate. The React X is really nice, but you're just so low to the ground, but it's still really soft for the entire footbed, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's one thing that I wish was a little bit different. I wish they would have made it a little bit thicker here in the forefoot, but they didn't, right? And as far as the upper goes, right, we got this. So they're saying they added ventilation holes. It's like, why do you need ventilation holes? And first of all, they're really thin, kind of like slits, but it's a slide, you know what I mean? You don't really need the vent. But anyways, that's also nothing that I noticed is that look at this, just so thin. It's a pro and con to me, you know what I mean? So it's really thin, so it feels really comfortable on top of my foot right here, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel cumbersome at all comparing to other slides like this one. You know what I mean? The Shark Slide 3, this material is actually like a lot thicker, a lot more cumbersome, and a little bit stiffer as well. So it doesn't conform to my foot as well. So, but with this, actually, like I said, it's really thin. So like, it just feels really nice on top of my foot. It just kind of like bends with, you know, my foot as well, very easily. But because it's so thin, it feels really cheap. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels really flimsy as well. You know, so yeah, like I said, it is a pro and con, but you know, on foot it feels really nice, right? And as far as the fit goes, I went up half a size because I am a half size, and it actually fits me pretty well. You know, there is a little bit of length, of course, but I don't mind it all too much. For example, in the Croc Slide, it's not the slide, but I'm forgetting the name, but that slide or shoe is just so, it runs so freaking large, you know, and I went the exact same size. So yeah, if you are in a half size and you want it to fit a little bit snug, then obviously go down half. But if you want it to be a little bit large and you don't mind that, then go up half a size. And for my slides, I like it to run a little bit long, you know, I don't want it to be like an exact fit, because you know, I want something a little bit more roomy, something a little bit more comfortable, you know what I mean? So yeah, if you are a true to size slide type of person, you know, you're not a half size, then you should be fine just going true to size, and it'll be a very snug fit. So there is the fit there. So yeah, wrapping things up, I really did enjoy wearing this slide. Is it my favorite? However, not really. I don't think it's the most comfortable, and also for the $60 price tag, I definitely feel like there are better options out there. First of all, like the Shark Slide 3, right? So this slide, again, is very cheap. It's 35 bucks. One thing I don't like about this slide, however, is that it's freaking heavy. Oh yeah, that's one thing that we should go over, right? So the Hokas are actually pretty lightweight. It comes in at 7.65 ounces, right? So it feels lightweight. The foam is thick, so you still feel kind of high up off the ground, but it's pretty comfortable still, right? But let's weigh these. These are actually pretty dang, 11.2 ounces, right? So it's like 4 ounces heavier. So that is one thing I don't like about these. But if you're looking for just straight up comfort, you know, like underfoot cushion, and you want something that's as soft as possible, this is like one of the best options out there. And also this one, right? AG Whale 2. I like a little bit better as well. But honestly, it's not that bad. Like I said, you know, it is comfortable, especially here in the heel. But I just wish it had better forefoot cushion for me personally. Also, aesthetically, it doesn't look that good. I mean, it just looks like a basic kind of slide. And also, like I said, it looks a little bit cheap as well. Something you find at like a cheap store and you're just like, oh, I got these for like $5, you know, I'm 10 bucks. Or at least it does to me. but it's not. It's a $60 slide, which is, you know, a little bit more on the expensive side of things. So anyways, is it a good recovery slide? I would say it is. You know what I mean? Like I said, it is overall pretty comfortable, and I do like how it is like lightweight as well, especially with this kind of like thinner kind of piece here. It makes it feel really lightweight, you know, not cumbersome at all. But again, I feel like the cushion could be a little bit better. So anyways, that about concludes my review of the Hoka Ora Recovery Slide 3. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.